Hello everybody, welcome to this video. It's a continuation in the series looking at what the 2017 AQA English language exams teach us about the 2018 onwards English language exams from AQA. Just a quick video today looking at AQA English language paper 2 question 3, the language analysis question, of course analysing the use of language in a non-fiction piece of writing. Paper 1 question 2 asks students to analyse language in a piece of fiction writing. Paper 2 question 3 is looking at the non-fiction use of language. Now 20% of students achieved a very low mark in level 1 for this question. And again, there's nothing new here. This is going to be a super fast video in many ways, because really the whole point of language analysis is that it is not about spotting and even defining language devices. This is not an exam that will reward you for finding things in a text, for finding examples of language features. Okay, so if you find a language feature, even if it's a very impressive one like zoomorphism, you aren't going to get many marks at all unless you can explain the effect those language choices have on the reader. That is the key thing. All language analysis is about the effect that language choices have. So I've worked with a lot of students who can look at an extract and find something. You might look at the extract and say, well, there's an example of alliteration, or there's a metaphor, or there's zoomorphism, or whatever it is. But then you have to ask yourself, can I explain how that language feature, that word, phrase, whatever it is, achieves the effect the writer wants it to achieve? What is it that it actually does, and how does it achieve that effect on the reader? Now, quite often you'll find something in a source where you cannot explain the effect. Okay, so you might be sat there thinking, well, there's some alliteration, but I cannot link that to the effect at all. And the key thing here is, well, don't write about it then. Because if you just say, here's some alliteration, and here's the quotation, and even here's what alliteration is, that's a level 1 response. It's much better to pick choices where you can explain the effect the language has. And similarly, the examiner's report said, students often did better when they were able to choose simple language choices. And that might just be something as simple as a simile or a metaphor, and be able to explain the effect of it, than trying to find super impressive language choices and not being able to explain the effect. So how can you prepare for this question? Because it is a difficult question. I have to say, as an English teacher now of 12 years experience, language analysis in a non-fiction text has been part of the GCSE course for years, and has always been a part that students have found very difficult. I think when we're looking at a fiction text, like we look at it in paper 1, it's that little bit easier. But when we're looking at non-fiction, most students just look at the extracts and say, I have no idea. But what you've got to do is become familiar with looking at non-fiction texts, being able to pick out examples of deliberate language choice. And one of the ways I like to talk about this is, where has the writer seemingly used a word or a phrase where a different word or a phrase would have been fine, but it seems that they've specifically chosen that one. That's one way into language analysis that can be useful, to think, okay, a different word or phrase would have been fine there, but they've clearly chosen this one for effect. What is that effect that they've chosen it for? Rather than just look for things, rather than just look for, alliteration and metaphors and that kind of thing, read it with a mind to think, where are there deliberate choices where other words or phrases would have been fine, but the writer seems to have specifically made this choice here? That's a good way into language analysis in a non-fiction text. Now do check out Mr. Bruff's Guide to GCSE English Language, available in ebook form at mrbruff.com for £3.99, Kindle form on Amazon for $3.99, or now paperback for $6.99 on Amazon. And in fact, 20 of the Mr. Bruff titles are now available in paperback. Language analysis has historically always been difficult for students. It's not going to just magically get easier as we move into this new exam, but ask yourself, where has the writer seemingly chosen a word or a phrase or a language feature where they could have written it a different way, but this seems to be a deliberate choice? And then start to think about, what is the the effect the writer was trying to achieve here. It's all about the effect. If you cannot think of an effect, if you can't seem to link to an effect, don't write about it, because this is not about showing off the amazing language features you know about.